All right, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Jacob Levy, it's true. And I'm here to talk about the money value of time and automation, specifically using Ascend. So we have about 30 minutes together. Let's get to it. There you see, I wasn't kidding. Automation and the money value of time. I even titled it that. Let's go. Okay. I think a lot of you, I imagine, have heard of the time value of money. I spent my 20s in investment banking, and it was a critical foundational concept. It's how we sort of measure risk. What about the money value of time? This is the operative question today. So the time value of money captures the value today of money expected tomorrow. Like I said, it's a big deal. That's a big deal, but we won't go into it. It would be a tangent to do so. The money value of time captures the value today and tomorrow of your time. This is, I think, just a really important concept for data leadership. I mean, data engineers, too, anybody who wants to sort of matriculate up into leadership of a data team, what your team works on is a big deal. What the output is, what the money value of the time is. To give you guys a little bit of a sense, as we kind of linger on this for a second, right? I managed a 75-person team at PennyMac Financial Services before I joined Entisys. And just kind of recalling that, I remember as my team grew and as I came into that leadership responsibility, thinking between the headcount and the product that we were subscribing to, the licensing and all of that, all in all, it becomes a $15 to $20 million cost center, and the money value of that time, of that 75 adults worth of time, was front and center in my mind all the time. Okay, so a data platform having Ascend.io as a pillar enables me and my clients to increase the money value of our time. You guys heard in the intro, I lead the data practice at Entisys360. So hence the reference, me and my clients. We use Ascend internally as well. Money value of time. All right, so why? We spend less time on production support. We spend less time on technical debt. We spend more time on feature development. Those are related, those three very much so. And then talent acquisition and retention become easier. Those are all related propositions, and we're going to step through them. Less production support naturally increases the proportion of your time available spent on feature development. So I think you guys will be pretty familiar with several of these bullets, if not all of them. All right, what spikes production support? That list I put together, I think, is pretty comprehensive. It may not cover everything, but data volume surges, right, is as the company you're working for, the clients you're working with, whatever, as their volume surges, especially if your machinery your apparatus is kind of chronologically oriented, right? You've got your dependency chains and all that stuff, and you've got volume surges. Your jobs are starting to run longer, and you get that traffic jam. Marginal transformation adjustments. You guys, if there's something small, a data model change upstream, or a tweak to a transformation job, that'll drive prod support, data model changes, and job failures. You guys get that stuff. So Ascend auto scales. That's going to do away with your capacity management, right? This major concept of separation of storage and compute. That is the dawn of the cloud computing age. It's a tremendous evolution. You guys, I'm sure, are aware of it, familiar with it, driving towards it, trying to make use of it as best you can. For me, to be honest with you guys, it's everything. A modern platform that leverages that separation of storage and compute is the biggest deal. Drives clarity with the DAG. Ascend does that extremely well. That directed acyclic graph, that canvas structure, right? It's not simplistic anymore. It's really further evidence of how data engineering has its own development lifecycle, how it has become like app dev itself, and having a code plus, a code friendly GUI or Canvas sort of GUI is really, really powerful. Ascend automatically flags upstream data model changes. It's a beautiful thing. And it definitely manages dependencies as, oh, hit that wrong button. If you look at a DAG and it's got, you know, sort of just a natural funnel motion, let's say to keep it simple, you've got, say, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you get that 2 stack over here, and you've got a tile up at the top it's sort of running long or hanging, right? Ascend's going to be aware of that systematically, and just going to hang that downstream step, that next step, until that upstream step completes. It's pretty neat. Less technical debt. Again, we are increasing the proportion of your time spent on feature development. So what drives technical debt? App dev changes, DevOps, no-ops maturation. Let's kind of pause here for a second and step through some of these, right? When an app dev team that is producing and consuming data, producing data that you're extracting, that you're persisting, consuming data from someplace else that you're persisting for them. Let's say they make a change from a relational database backend to Mongo, to a JSON backend. They like that feature functionality of being able to develop a little more fluidly. That's a big change for you. You know, all of a sudden you're going to have a different type of store that you need to ingest from. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's something. DevOps, no-ops maturation. When your partners in IT and DevOps, they start wanting you to pipeline your data engineering code in the same way that an app dev team does, which is, by the way, the right way to do it. And in the medium term and the long term for sure, but the medium term even is super helpful, super powerful for you guys, for a data engineering team. That's technical debt for you as you make that change. Cloud migrations, data volume growth, consumer demand changes, right, on your consuming stakeholders, your downstream consumers, when they have something that they want to change, right, that's going to backflow to you. In any event, you guys get this stuff, I think. So Ascend is polyglot, polystore. It's pipeline friendly. To touch on that DevOps point, you kind of these things nest together. It is hybrid and multi-cloud friendly. It auto scales. It's data host agnostic and extensible. These are all really, really strong features. All right, the polyglot, polystore, right? You can write ANSI SQL in there. You can write Scala. You can write Python. All right, this is all super important. The native connectors or the JDBC, ODBC connections give you that polystore functionality. The pipeline friendliness, right? Being able to run your code through GitLabs or whatever that you want to do. At the end of the day, that's a really, really powerful advent for you guys. Hybrid and multi-cloud friendly. It's going to straddle for you guys. It'll reach down to your on-prem stores, be able to work with those. Auto scales, we talked about that. And the host agnosticism and extensibility, super powerful as well. API, multi-directional, bidirectional, and SDK to invoke Ascend as well. Really good stuff. Feature development. More feature development increases the money value of your time. So this is sort of the first consolidation of the value prop here, where we talk about reducing tech debt and prod support. What controls your volume of feature development? Your volume of tech debt, your volume of production support, right? As a percentage of your available dev hours, both of those things, your available dev hours and the estimate your stakeholders have of your capacity. So you guys read through the Ascend.io bullets here, minimizes your tech debt. I've been beating that horse already. This is, I think, a really, you know, it's a consolidated, like I said, it's our first consolidation in the presentation. There are 3 main functions, main engineering functions or main sort of development functions, right? Production support, tech debt. So you could say just keeping the lights running, optimizing what you guys have, what's going on, and feature development. And feature development maybe has 2 parts. You've got let's get this thing built and incubated, what we want to do, and then also let's go to market with it. But that's less of a, you know, that the go-to-market piece typically is baked in at the front already when you get the go-ahead to develop, when you get the request. So the amount of time that your team has to spend on feature development is effectively controlled by how much tech debt and production support you're running. And this 4th bullet here from the top, the estimate your stakeholders have of your capacity. If your stakeholders feel they see you coming all the time, hey, you're spending 50, 60% of your time on prod support, or hey, we can't do that new thing that you want because we need to loop back and fix this issue that we had that popped up as a result of some other change that they don't even know about, let alone care about. Their estimate of your capacity is super influential on your budget, on what they ask you to do, whether they try to go around you, work with somebody else, do a shadow IT thing, whatever the case may be. So those three, kind of levers, right? Being able to shove your tech debt down, being able to shove your production support demands down, makes you a much more appealing partner to your stakeholders. So bonus time here, and I think another consolidation here early in the presentation is better talent acquisition and retention here. So I have some true or falses to you guys can answer these. True or false, the most productive engineers like a work mix heavy on feature development. I just kind of, answer for yourself, guys. I think it's yes, true. Feature development is the most enjoyable of the three core development functions. I think so. I would much rather be doing that than prod support. I'd much rather be designing for tomorrow than trying to figure out, what kind of broke a little bit yesterday or whatever. Feature development is where new tech happens. Yeah, totally. Experience with new tech increases the data professional's marketability. Now we're getting into really the pure sort of direct approach on the HR front, excuse me. I think that's true. Increases in future marketability are appealing to your teammates and candidates, right? If you're hiring somebody, their sense of, hey, will my stop here help my career trajectory? Should I stay here? If I'm already here, should I stay here? Because doing so increases my marketability. Like, why would I want to go someplace else? I'm working on front of market tech here. I'm learning, I'm getting stronger. And then a higher estimate by your stakeholders if your capacity is bullish for your budget. Let's be frank, guys. For those of us who run budgets, who are data leaders, that's a big deal, right? You don't want to be the guy who's constantly asking for off-budget funding, right? So you look, you come September, October, if you're working at a large-ish enterprise, right, and your budget is getting set, you're making your asks, and you need to work within that for 12 months, starting from the new fiscal year, whatever. If more of your time is spent on feature development, are you getting the most visible positively enterprise impacting work out there? Your stakeholders are now looking at you as, hey, this team moves the needle for me. This team pushes my team forward. This team enables my team. So when you go back, you say, hey, I would like another $1 million or whatever to work on this or that. One, it's going to be backed by a request from a downstream stakeholder. That's the most powerful thing. So when you go to your CIO, your CDO, your CTO, and they're asking, hey, what do you need this for? Boom, you've got a backlog. Why do you have a backlog? Because you jam on feature development. You jam on new features for your stakeholders. All of this stuff, to kind of put a bow around it, right? We want to automate as much as we can the bottom half of our stacks, all of us, as much of the stack as possible. But if you think about infrastructure as code, you think about the rise of SaaS in general, right? It's all about leasing / automating the bottom half of a given stack, and I don't want to say that data eng is bottom and that it's lower priority. It's actually foundational, right? But it is also the most sort of clear cut automatable work in your area, probably. And Ascend just does a terrific job taking that burden off, helping you to execute more, helping you say, hey, I'm going to eng. My team needs to develop transformations that are particular specific to our business, to our stakeholders. Well, managing Spark, like the actual management of Spark, managing failure alerting, doing that sort of block and tackle work, like managing auto scaling, that stuff is not particular to your work. It's not particular to your enterprise. That's common across the entire marketplace. So that's what I mean when I say let's automate the bottom half of the stack. Let's get the stuff. Let's go lease the functionality, the license the functionality for that bottom half of the stack, so that you guys can focus more on the top half, on the top 10%, on what's moving the needle for your businesses. All right. So bigger bow around this thing. What you work on is the strongest lever you have on your productivity. I think that's totally spot on. I wrote it, so I guess I should think that. But just pause on it. I mean, sit and chew on that for a second, right? It's a beautiful thing to be in the United States of America in 2022. Sure, we got plenty of issues to solve. Maybe we're trading on a lot of positive investments here too, for whatever. Let's leave that alone. The fact of the matter is that more so than any other economy, society, cohort of people, we have the ability to choose what we work on. That's a tremendous blessing. But let's bring it down a few thousand feet and think about it just in the context, just in your own personal context, your team's context. Do you have the ability to choose what you work on? Because that's going to be the strongest lever you have on your productivity. Again, banging this drum, feature development. That's really what it's about. Okay, how so? We're gonna get jamming here as we feel the clock. Ascend handles the 4 V's. Those are table stakes, but let's step through them. Volume, velocity, vector, variety. You guys know what this stuff is about. So handling these 4 table stakes, they suffice to get you a seat at the table, right? Auto-scaling Spark is the most powerful data computing engine generally available. We don't have quantum computing yet at our fingertips. Maybe one day, maybe we'll have magic crystals or whatever, but right now, auto-scaling Spark is, that's the big rocket fuel. It's a big rocket. So Ascend, I have seen spikes up to 800 concurrent nodes, right? This rig can move petabytes of data in the wild. Super powerful. So volume, check that box. Let's go to velocity. Event-based, streaming friendly, horizontally scaling, right? If that data is pumping fast, right? Whether it's you're streaming with a Kafka rig, you've got an API invocation off of a message queue and a Lambda or a cloud function or whatever. It's event-based, right? It's this thing's going to hum along with it. It's going to handle that velocity, no problem. The horizontal scaling, again, hey, I've got a big surge, I've got a micro batch, I've got a macro batch. It's going to auto scale, it's going to horizontally scale for you to handle that. So velocity, check that box. Variety, source and target agnostic. Native connectors are strong. The Eng team over there at Ascend is really good. You can extend yourself, but they will work with you and extend where they see good value in it for everybody involved. The file-based access is, I think, a big key to extensibility. Being able to effectively hang a config file in S3, of course, to actually work with data, Parquet, Avro, whatever it is that you're running in your data lake. But to be able to parameterize using files, I think, is also a super powerful extensibility feature. JDBC and ODBC connections, of course. The polyglot thing we talked about a little bit before, so I'm not going to linger on it. And all of that spells this last bullet here, a massive homogenization ability. You take a wide mouth funnel and you've got 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever different data types, data formats at the source. Hey, you can homogenize all of that and output to a single format, to 2 different formats, whatever the case may be. Again, that type of functionality, very powerful, very, very powerful for handling variety. All right, on to vector. I think vector is the easiest of the 4 to forget. The word we use the least probably in our common parlance, but vector is a big deal. The DAG clarifies, and you should read that as enables complexity. We all want to simplify. We all want to sort of, make things smooth or simple, whatever. The reality is that we're all dealing with complexity. The question is, how can you get to clarity? And the DAG really, really helps a lot with that. That's that visual canvas style layout. And it's really, really great for your engineers. It's really great for your new personnel. It's really great for your stakeholders. The NDAG app-bound API callouts as first-class dependencies. this kind of loops back a little bit to the extensibility stuff we were talking last slide. Forgive me for speaking quickly. But those outbound API callouts they're super powerful, and it gives you that additional vector, right? And if your application development teams are microserviced out already or moving in that direction, this is going to be potentially key functionality for you guys. Inbound API and SDK invocations, manipulations of Ascend. Hopefully all this talk about APIs and SDK, you guys, I think we'll get this. You pick up on what I'm saying here. And then what I call the yoga DAGs, right? These DAGs are super flexible. They're amorphous or they're polymorphous. So they're going to take whatever shape you need them to take. You put them in whatever position you need to put them in, downward dog, cobra, whatever it is, puppy, pick a pose, yoga DAGs. All right. So we have the 4 V's. We're hustling along here. The goose should lay golden eggs. I like fables. I got kids. I like fairy tales. Anyways, let's run with it. Governance, observability, orchestration, and security. The goose. Okay, they're really shiny, which means that they're clearly valuable to your stakeholders. Hopefully because they're made of gold and not just a shiny distraction. Your stakeholders, I'm sure, are brighter than that. But governance, highly segregable, clearly delineated DAG, and hashed code enable lineage tracing. You guys read through this. This last bullet kind of really wraps it up, right? A much stronger base for SOX audits and CDARTs, et cetera. I don't know if you guys have ever worked for a publicly listed company or a highly regulated, an enterprise in a highly regulated industry. That comes with a lot of stuff. And I know personally, I have been through a few of these. One, preventing not needing to go through these things is a neat trick, and I think Ascend helps a ton in that way, because it gives the whole engineering team just a certain suppleness, a certain, like, in the clarity thing, right? If you've got a daisy chain of stored procedures across a few different schemas in a database or multiple databases, peeling that back can be tricky. Forget about peeling it back. See, you got a new teammate or a less experienced one, somebody who didn't build that but inherited it, whatever the case may be. Super smart people. It's still it's a feat to just to understand it. And having that DAG, just like it's that sword cutting the Gordian knot. It makes it so much clearer for everybody. And the fact that Ascend will, in that sub account, whether the sub account that they're operating from on your cloud provider, in an object store, will hash the code for the intermediate transformations, will hash the data at each intermediate stop. Boom, like that's extractable for you. It's something that you can work with. I would spend 30 minutes on this alone. It's super valuable. And governance, guys, is not. Shouldn't be an afterthought. First class citizen for you guys, first class concern. Otherwise, your enterprise risk team and internal audit are going to be banging on you about it. And you want to play there. Like, data governance is a real deal. There's a lot of action over there and good stuff going on. Observability, highly functional, performance and oriented observability is inbuilt. So just operating from the UI, you're going to get good metrics, good stuff that you can share out. Good stuff for you to work with and say, okay, I can see this every quarter, whatever I need to put out my KPIs, my SLA performance metrics, whatever it is. This is going to help you. Back to the hashes. Those are, and the verbose logging. Those are noisy but signal rich troves of information for you. And it also, I think, plays really, really neatly with a modern sort of IT ops, NOC, or even no ops kind of a play. What your partners in IT, in infrastructure or in IT ops are running, whether it's New Relic or Splunk or Datadog or whatever they're running over there. This is going to play nice with that. Going to strengthen your partnership over in that direction, which is, it's a partnership is a big deal. It's all about it. Okay, orchestration. I think this is the essential architectural evolution, right? I mean, there are always 9 different ways to skin a cat or whatever, however many different ways. You guys know, your engineers, you've been doing this for a while. There's a dozen different ways to accomplish any given pipeline, any given transformation. The orchestration, though, is such a big deal. And again, the clarity, the ability to kind of be a hub and spoke model within engineering, data engineering, to make use of what's around you. So the push down or down, if you guys are running BigQuery or whatever, you can push down to it and compute in BigQuery. You don't have to double up the cost. The dependency management, super important feature. The data drift auto flagging, super valuable. And just that end-to-end previewability, right? This last bullet, right? Shifting that intelligibility load off of your team, right? Just the amount of hours in the aggregate each year that your team members may spend explaining the contents of a given pipeline to a financial analyst or to a VP somewhere, whatever. Again, we're freeing up time. It's the money value of time, right? We're freeing up time to focus on future development. Security, it's all top notch. I'm not going to linger here at all. Read this real quick. I'll pause for a second so you can, but security is good, solid. Don't worry about it. Okay, tool rationality. And we're going to jam through this, but this is super important as well. You see my bullets. Let's get into it. So tool rationality, because even militaries can't buy all they would, and yours is just a humble data team. Selecting a vendor is selecting that vendor's roadmap. It's also selecting that vendor's eng team. So let's think back to the money value of time slides, everything we've been talking about so far, right? That's now you've got a compound effect. When you go license out, when you select a vendor's roadmap, when you select a vendor, you're selecting their roadmap. How well have they, are they seeing the second and third horizons for their product? How much production support and tech debt are they themselves remediating, which is slowing their feature development, right? You guys get what I'm saying. And then selecting the vendor's eng team, right? Quality of their engineers is going to be super influential on the quality of their product. Breadth and quality. It's a mouthful. I had to get one mouthful sentence in here. Mutually exclusive in proportion inverse to the extensibility of the architecture. The better designed the architecture is, the more sort of modular, nested, extensible. I don't know if that's a real word. I've heard it a lot before, but I certainly, it resonates with me big time. How well can it be extended? How extensible is it? If a rig aspires to broad coverage, how extensibly it is architected will dictate the quality of each vertical of that coverage. Okay, Ascend highly and precisely leverages the separation of storage and compute, lending it to a high degree of modularity. The way that they have designed the product, right? Just to think of the enablement of all of those code and intermediate data hashes at each step, the orchestration stuff. It's really, really good. Every advantage is a distribution arbitrage. That's from Peter Thiel and Blake Masters, that 0 to 1 book. All of the big movers, all of the our major tech companies, the billion and in a couple of $1 trillion companies in our market, they're all, and really every company that is establishing sort of a new mode or being the first to do something a certain way, it's a distribution arbitrage. You're removing data, you're moving information, you're delivering Amazon with shipping and all this stuff. It's all, how do we more quickly distribute something in a way that it wasn't distributed before to unlock effectively time. We got to get going here. So data per dollar and overhead. You only have so much money to spend. Going back to the front, up a couple slides here. Selecting a vendor's roadmap, selecting a vendor's eng team. You only have so much money to spend. So how many shared services teams do you want to subsidize, right? If you go license out from 4 vendors, baked into that licensing fee is their HR team, their finance team, their customer success team, whatever else they're doing just to run their business, right? You're effectively fractionally paying for that. So if you can consolidate, one, it's going to be more dollar efficient for you. And on this last bullet, so do you prefer to move more data per dollar? And then we'll get to the last bullet here. Answer should be yes. The more vendors that you're running, the more management overhead you have as well. The more fragmented your team skill set needs to be, the less time they're spending picking up something else because they've got to learn this tool that you've got them working with, whatever. You guys get it? And then minding your exits, right? Your exit strategy should be known when you get into bed with a vendor. How do you get out? At what cost could you migrate away if you needed to? Right, it's something that as I went deeper into leading procurements, into selecting partners on behalf of a company, as a company was an enterprise was entrusting me with significant amounts of money. That's like what I wanted to know, that upfront. Okay, if I go deep with you, how do I get out? Sometimes it's about just maintaining negotiating leverage so that I actually have the ability to get out, so that when we come to renegotiate in 3 years, I'm not, I have some leverage. Sometimes, back to the roadmap and the ends team, we may need to part. So minding that is super important, and the modularity, the ease of use for Ascend, the extractability of everything, the fact that it's not persisting your data, it's really just orchestrating the transformations of it for you. It makes it so easy to leave that you won't want to. I think that's super valuable. Okay. Compound returns require convicted investment. Keep in mind on the money value of your time. We're starting to wrap it up here. This compound returns idea, it's true. Like you can't just jump in and out of tools. You have to master it to get the most out of it. You have to give it time to percolate, all that stuff. This is a tool that you can comfortably, with conviction, invest in, and building on that, right? Keep your mind on the money value of your time. That's where you want to be making your investments. So modern data engineering looks more like application development than data management these days. Let the futures roll. Thank you for being with me. I'm going to stick around for some Q&A. Looking forward to chatting with you guys. Thanks very much.